Hello, welcome to the channel. I did French and German at GCSE and German A-level, and I would like to reveal to you how you can absolutely hack your way out of these GCSEs and A-levels and turn them into free qualifications using a couple of easy steps. Firstly, you need to obtain the language. You can't just learn it, you have to obtain it. You must become one with the language. And the best way to do this is through immersion. So what is immersion? Immersion is when you quite literally surround yourself with a language that your brain has no choice but to pick it up. This hinges on something called neuroplasticity, which means your brain has quite literally evolved to change and adapt based on your surroundings. You need to be seeing words in context. That's why flashcards are well and good, but when you see the word, you may soon quickly forget what it means. When you see it used in authentic language, you obtain that word. You don't just learn it, you obtain it. And that's vital for language learning. Books in different languages are genuinely one of the best tools you can use, as you get exposed to so much grammar, so much goodness, idioms, vocabulary, all used authentically and in context. I'm sure there are tons of resources online where you can find books that are suited to your level and just have a good read through them. At first they'll feel difficult, you won't know many of the words, but you'll notice that as you consume more and more literature, you'll come across terms that you've seen before, copied word for word. And it's this repetition and constant citing of these terms in context that will really allow you to obtain the language. Finding books that you really enjoy that are written in English and have been translated into your target language can often be less demanding than books that were originally written in that language, as translators tend to use more simple vocabulary, and so that can be a really great place to start. I also recommend starting a little booklet where you can put in vocabulary or good phrases that you've learnt. Always have this on you when you're reading and just note down things. You can then Google Translate them later. In the middle of books, something that really helped is if you don't know a word, just note it down and try and guess it whilst you're reading, and then research it after so you don't break sort of that reading flow. And over time, as you learn more and more, it becomes sort of a snowball effect, and the more words you learn, the more advanced books you can read and the better you'll obtain the language. And so that really helps in really ingraining that language into your brain. Other forms of media in your target language are equally as helpful. For example, music. If you go on Spotify and search up any playlist in your target language, there'll be tons I'm sure you'll come across. And just find some artists that you really enjoy, listen to their songs, and whilst you're listening, you can also be looking through the lyrics, writing down any extra words you've learnt. And if you come across an earworm and the song gets stuck in your head, that's brilliant, because it means now you've got authentic vocabulary and phrases stuck in your head on repeat that you'll for sure remember. And this is why music is such a powerful tool for learning, because it gets stuck in your brain, but not in the same way that boring vocabulary or grammar rules do. It sticks in your brain and it stays there, and it's always present. And it means in any conversation, you have that at the back of your mind and you can just whip it out. I learned so many good idioms and phrases and vocabulary in this way, and I hugely recommend you find some artists in your target language that you enjoy listening to, look through their songs, and just find some bangers you can just play on repeat. At some point, I think my music taste was literally only in German. That's how obsessed I got with it, and this obsession really fueled my language journey forwards. Another way to help with immersion is reading the news or reading news articles in your target language. So every morning if you open the news, instead do this in your target language. Obviously news is quite complex and it helps to have a rough idea of what articles are talking about. So you could read them in English first and then in your target language. Something that really helped me here was downloading Google Translate extensions on my browsers and just the app Google Translate. So any word you don't know, instantly put it in and you instantly learn it. And because you've seen it in context, your brain will learn it that much better. And that will definitely help you pick up some vocabulary. Similarly, you can, whilst you're watching films or YouTube videos, turn on subtitles in your target language and try and keep an eye on them as well. Sometimes there are even voiceovers or dubs in other languages, which you can definitely turn on and have the subtitles in English if you're more advanced. I think watching and consuming videos and such media in your target language not only helps with your vocabulary and your grammar, but also the pronunciation, as over time your brain picks up how you're supposed to say words, the intonation, and suddenly you'll realise you don't have to learn pronunciation rules anymore. You just know them because you've heard them and you can absorb them and you pick them up, and that's one of the best ways to really master pronunciation. Even better if you can tailor your social media feeds to be in your target language, or at least have some videos in your target language. You can even set up a different account and put the region as your target language as country to ensure you only get media in that language, so you can just consume that media. If you're going to doom scroll, why not make it productive by adding some target language content in there? It really does boost the productivity of this, and on a low energy day you can just turn on TikTok or Instagram or whatever and you're still being productive, you're still learning, even though you're doom scrolling, by just having some content in that different language. Next tip is starting to think in your language. Not all the time. You don't have to have every single conscious thought be in that language, but just occasionally, if you're in the middle of something or if you're daydreaming, think about how you would express those thoughts in your target language. For example, when I was doing German A-level, sometimes I'd be working and I'd come across something super surprising and I'd be like, das kann doch nicht wahr sein. And I just realized that over time, I was inadvertently saying this in my brain. And that kind of teaches your brain again to obtain the language, that you become part of the language rather than just passively learning it. But at the center of this lies passion and enjoyment for your language. Especially at A-level, if you want to do a language A-level, you must genuinely feel passionate about your language, and that seriously supercharged my learning. It makes you actively want to seek out resources in your target language, want to learn more, and makes you always curious for the next big thing that you could learn. If you do this consistently, you'll return to the classroom and you'll realize that you're miles ahead of all of your other classmates. You'll realize that you'll have to study less for exams because you'll just know the vocabulary. During speaking exams, you no longer have to write huge scripts, as some of it can be done spontaneously. You'll find your pronunciation marks skyrockets and that you're using grammar more fluently. And ultimately, by the end of the process, you should have fully obtained the language and come to a point where you're having to spend so little revision time on these language qualifications because you've obtained them. Congratulations. So if you stick with it, you stay consistent, and you implement these tips, I no doubt believe you can hack any of these language qualifications and make them your own. Good luck, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.